to Good Vibras. I'm your host, Brielle Figueroa, and I hope you guys are having an amazing Tuesday. It is beautiful and sunny here in Florida, as per usual, nice and warm. So what I'm going to do is, I think every Tuesday, what I'm going to aim for right now, every Tuesday I want to release an episode. So definitely stay looking out for them every Tuesday. You guys can follow my podcast Instagram at Good Vibras Podcast for updates on new episode content, all that stuff. And as well as my personal at Brielle.Figueroa. There will be updates there as well. And you guys can connect with me on both, DM me, whatever you guys want to do. I will be there, and I'm always looking at my DMs and answering DMs I get, questions, all that stuff. So definitely follow those. And I guess here we go. This is episode 1 of the podcast series. So, and of course, Nino is playing with his toy in the background. Hopefully you guys can't hear that. And if you do, I'm sorry. Nino into the other room because his toy was just squeaking too much in the background. Nino is my dog, by the way. He has an Instagram too, if you want to follow him, at nino.lel.bebe, B-E-B-E. It's on my Instagram too, my personal Instagram in the bio. If you want to follow my little man, who has been such a big blessing in my life too. He is something else. But anyways, okay, so first episode. My name on Instagram is Brielle Figueroa LPN. For the most part, everyone knows, I'm a pediatric nurse. So I was like, okay, my first episode, let's dive into the nursing stuff, my journey, updates, all that fun stuff. So for that first episode, that's what we're going to talk about. So first question, when did I realize I want to be a nurse? So it's funny because back in high school, I would say, funny, growing up, I wanted to be a bunch of different things. I wanted to be a meteorologist, a veterinarian, a teacher, literally anything you can think of. I was like, I want to do that. I want to do that. And then sophomore year of high school, I wanted to go into graphic design and create content and stuff like that. But my geometry teacher at the time, she kind of threw some shade at me. She was like, well, if you want to be a graphic designer, you have to be good at geometry. I was like, oh. So kind of shot down my dream of being a graphic designer. So I just brushed it off the side. I'm like, all right, whatever. I guess I'm not going to do that. And then I would say around junior year of high school, that's when I realized I wanted to go into nursing. I was involved in a program where it was a program that created parties and events for children who had autism. And I just loved working with them. I loved helping them. I loved just creating fun parties for them and seeing their faces light up. And I just loved giving back. I did volunteer work for the Red Cross also. And everything was kind of linked towards healthcare almost. And then also in high school, I had 2 uncles that had passed away to cancer. And my family and I, we were always in the hospitals visiting them. And just, I guess also being in the hospital environment a lot, I was exposed to, I got to see how the doctors worked, how the nurses interacted with my uncles, and just, seeing them give to others. They were so selfless. I wanted to do that. I wanted to make a difference. I realized my purpose in life was to serve. I was like, I know God wants me to serve. I want to serve others. I want to help others. I want to be able to take care of them and, be there for them. Because they don't have family, they can't be there for themselves, whatever the case is, I just want to be there for them, want to help others. So that's what I decided to do, junior in high school. So then I graduated, and then after I graduated, I worked at a pizzeria for a year. And at the time, while I was working at the pizzeria, I also was going to the local community college to get all my prereqs done to enter their nursing program. So it was an RN 2-year degree program. It was an associate's degree, and then you can become a registered nurse. So while I was on the wait list for that program, I also was working at a pizzeria and I was doing my prereqs. So it was all the science classes, anatomy, all that stuff. Microbiome was terrible. So I was doing all of that. And then after I worked at the pizzeria for a year, was still doing my prereqs because it's a process to get into the program. You have to wait on a wait list and all that stuff. So it's there's a lot involved. For most nursing schools, they want you to either do a certified nursing assistant class or a patient care tech class. So I chose the nursing assistant one. The difference between the two is CNA, you're usually found in the nursing homes, and the PCT, the patient care techs, they're in a hospital setting. So I chose CNA, and I did that. I did the class for, it was like I think it was like 6 weeks, a 6-week program. I did the program over the summer, and then I took my boards exams, because you have to like sit for your boards too. Like you have to test out in front of the state or whatever. They observe you, and then you get your license. So I passed, and then I started working as a CNA, and I didn't work at the pizzeria anymore. So I was like, all right, now I'm a CNA, getting some healthcare experience, still going to nursing school and waiting to get into the program and all that good stuff. So I will say this, being a CNA, honestly, or a PCT, whichever you choose, really, it makes you a better nurse, because you're starting from the bottom. You're doing all the hands-on stuff, CNAs, PCTs, you got to do patient care, AM care, PM care, baths, toileting, brushing teeth, dressing, you name it, like everything. Your patients depend on you to help them. So it's a rewarding job. It's tough. I won't lie. It's tough on the body. It's not easy, but it definitely is rewarding. And I know that being a CNA for 4 years. Yeah. Really made me a better nurse, because, you start from the bottom. Like I know how to do the basic skills that every nurse should know how to do. I think a lot of people think nursing is just, med pass and like cute scrubs and like Instagram. Like, no, it's not. Definitely is not. I have some crazy stories just being a CNA and nurse, and which maybe I could say that for another episode. If you guys want to hear, let me know and DM me. There's a lot that's involved with being a CNA. And a lot of sometimes there's gross experiences. It's definitely a humbling career. I will tell you that. But it was a blessing. I met, I had the sweetest patients. I worked in a nursing home for 5 months first. Usually CNAs are found in nursing homes. And if you know anything about nursing homes, you kind of know the environment that they have. And truthfully, it was not the kind of environment I wanted to be in. But I knew I needed to get some experience before I can go anywhere else. So I did take that job. It was a rough 5 months, but I think it made me become the best CNA possible, because it was rough. I remember my first day off of orientation was like 3 days. I got orientation. My first day off, I had the worst assignment in 12 patients that were super heavy, and I really didn't have anyone to help me. And it was a lot. It was a lot. Oh my gosh, I can remember it now. But like I said, 5 months, good experience. And then at that time, I was so desperate to find another job. And I was like, God, please, open another door. And sure enough, he did. I ended up working at the Children's Hospital as a CNA for about 4 years. Time goes by so quick. I can't even keep track of time. But then I ended up there for 4 years working as a CNA, and I loved it so much. So I always wanted to go into pediatrics. So this door opening was the biggest blessing in my life. And I have met so many amazing people from that company. I miss them so much. I literally miss that Children's Hospital. So I was back in New Jersey. I am in Florida now. So I'm not with my people anymore, but it was such a good job. I had the best team. I had the best coworkers. I am still close with so many of them today. It was amazing. And the kids, oh my gosh, all those kids were my babies. I'd always tell people, I have 20 something kids. I love those kids so much. I miss them every day. I'm always thinking about them. They literally were such a big blessing in my life, especially during that time I was going through a lot in life, those years I was there, which stay tuned for future episodes. We'll dive into those topics. But, okay, Nino, relax, dude. I don't know if you guys can hear him playing in the background. So I was a CNA at that Children's Hospital for a while, and I gained so much experience. I, first of all, loved working in pediatrics, so it was so fun going to work. And there were your tough days, and there were easy days. You're never going to have the perfect day. So I learned a lot from that from working there. A lot of our kids had trachs, G-tubes, a lot of respiratory neuro issues. They couldn't talk, they couldn't walk. So I learned I would say one of the main skills I learned was just like learning how to read body language and really know what it meant to like assess a patient and really identify what's going on. So I definitely learned a lot. So I worked there as a CNA, and then while I was working at the Children's Hospital, I got accepted into the RN program at my community college. So I was so excited. I was like, all right, let's do this finally, waiting to get into the program. Got into the program, and the first semester was not hard. It was pretty easy. And I would say because, again, like being a CNA, having that clinical experience, that background already in healthcare, being exposed to it, the first semester was basically kind of like the same thing, like just the fundamentals. So it wasn't hard at all. First semester was fine. Second semester, it was not fine. So for most nursing programs, you can only fail, like you fail once. They only give you one time to fail. And if you fail again, a second time, you're removed from the program. So that's how my program was. A 74 was considered failing, 75 was passing. So my second semester, so it was nursing 161. That was like the first semester with clinicals, because the semester prior was like labs and stuff. So that semester, 161, we started going to the clinical setting, and I did great in clinical, obviously, because I've had that experience with CNA. So clinical was fine. I was getting A's, doing my care plans. It was great. Lecture, not so great. So lecture was tough. Like, we would have lecture once a week for 4 hours, and in those 4 hours, they would cram like 5 to 10 chapters sometimes. Like, it really depended on what we were covering, and these chapters were like big chapters. In literally 4 hours, they would try to shove a bunch of chapters into your brain, and then you would have 4 weeks to like retain everything, and every new lecture they would add stuff. So by the time it was week 4, you're ready to take your exam the following week. So it was like 4 exams were your test grade. Like, that was how you got your averages. There was no extra credit. There was no homeworks. Like, it was 4 test grades, boom, your average. And it was literally so rough. At the time, I was in a toxic relationship, which we will dive into in another episode. But if you know anything about toxic relationships, you know how distracting and crazy that gets. So I was not focused with school at this time. I was all over the place. It was my first relationship. I was with this dude for like 4 years, but it was just such an unhealthy, toxic relationship. I was like all over the place, and I was trying to balance everything at once, and it did not work out. So that semester, I ended up failing 161. My boyfriend and I had broken up. I was like all over the place. I lost 12 pounds. Like, I was just like a mess. Your girl was all over the place. And I want to slap myself sometimes thinking about it now, because ladies and gents, don't ever let a person affect you to the point where you ruin all your goals and plans because of this one person. Like, and no. First of all, which we will talk in another episode, you identify the red flags immediately, and then you dip. I have a hard time letting go. So 4 years into this, I did this to myself. I should have known better, but it's okay. We live and learn. So I failed the semester, and I was like, oh my gosh, I failed. I was devastated. I was like, I cannot, like, that was my one pass. Now I have to like really try hard because I can't fail again. So there's a lot of pressure. So I went through my healing process. I healed. I was like, all right, time to get back into school mode. I need to focus, like no distractions whatsoever. Went through my healing phase, whatever. Went back to school that fall and repeated the semester. And I passed it, of course. It was already familiar to me. I knew I was so motivated. I felt so empowered. I was like, okay, I'm going to pass. This is about me. I'm going to do this. Like, nothing's going to get in the way. I'm single now. Like, my priorities are in order. Like, I can do this. So I passed that semester. I was so happy. I felt so empowered. I was so proud of myself. Passed that semester. And then the next semester was 162. So 162 was like OB, peds. So it was like labor and delivery, pregnancies, pediatrics. Like, it was my favorite semester. So 162, again, clinicals, I did fine, aced it. It was a lot of fun. I got to see a lot of cool things. Like, it was just such a good semester. Like, I enjoyed it. But the lecture, again, for some reason, it was just a struggle. I always struggled with lectures. It was just a lot of information at once. So I was like, kind of struggling. I like just barely made it. So I got a 70, I was at a 76 average. So then we had our last exam, which was like a midterm curriculum that wasn't even created by the school. The state created this exam. It was like a HESI exam, and it was like a mid-curricular. So they would test us from everything we learned from the beginning of the program until where we were now. So I was like, great. And it's not created by our school. So this is like a random test that the state created. And funny, because now that school got rid of the program, got rid of that test, and they changed the whole program. I'm like, LOL. Like, how interesting. Because it really was an exam that it just wasn't necessary, but whatever. Everything happens for a reason. But not salty or anything. But yeah, so I took that exam. I remember I'm taking it, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to submit like, I finished it. I was going to submit the test, and I was like, whatever happens at this point, I have to trust it's God's will. I was like, it's whatever's meant to be will be, and I have to trust the process. So I submitted it, and I was so nervous. Submitted it, and I already knew what grade, like the lowest grade I could get in order to pass. So I saw my grade immediately. Once I submitted it, I saw my grade, and I didn't pass. And I remember I just like sat there staring at the computer, and I froze, and I was like numb. I was just like, okay, this is it. And I just walked out of the room, went to the financial advisor, the nursing advisors, and they were like, you didn't pass, I'm sorry, you're removed from the program, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, like whatever, like, okay, thank you. And they're like, best of luck, yada, yada, yada. So I walk out the building, and I'm walking to my car, and I'm just like numb. I'm just like, yeah, I failed. Wow. Like, what? Like, I'm removed from the program. And then I drove home, and I was just blasting music, like just trying to like vibe and stay positive. And then I get home, and I see my parents, and I break down, and I cry. And I cry, and I cry, and I went through the whole process of like the emotions. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do now. I felt so defeated. I was like beating myself up for it. Like, Brielle, you're so dumb. You shouldn't have let a guy make you fail the first time. Like, you could have had another chance. Like, if you were just focused. Like, I was literally just so hard on myself and just angry and sad and like just feeling so many different emotions. So I did, let it all out. I cried. I told my parents. And then once I went through the whole process, they were super encouraging too. I have such a supportive family. They were there for me and comforted me and all of that. So once I let it all out, finally was able to like get myself together. I was like, okay, Brie, you don't stop here. You need to keep going. It doesn't stop here. Like, you need to keep going and figure out a plan B. And I was like, yeah, it's not going to stop here. I was like, I know my purpose is to serve and help other people. I know God wants me to be a nurse. And just because I failed once doesn't mean this is it. Like, I'm not going to stop here. So I kept going. I was like, you know what? It does not end here. I'm going to be a nurse. I'm going to do it. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I'm going to do it. So obviously I didn't want to wait 2 years to get into another nursing program and go through all that nonsense again. So my advisor, one of my advisors from the other program, she reached out to me, and one of my close friends who I worked with at the hospital, she also encouraged me to do the LPN route. So I wanted to go right into RN because I just wanted to get my associates and then just go from there. But I didn't want to wait either 2 years because it was just going to delay everything. So they were like, there's an LPN program nearby that you should do. It's a 10-month accelerated program. It's a Monday through Friday, but you can get your license in 10 months. And I was like, okay, I never thought about going towards LPN. I wanted to go straight into the RN program. But I was like, you know what? This is an option, so I need to go with it. Because I was in an RN program and made it halfway through and then went into an LPN program, I was able to kind of reflect and kind of compare the two programs. Now, remember, this is me comparing the school that I went to, like their program versus excuse me, versus the other school, the LPN school I went to. Obviously this isn't for all RN schools or LPN schools, and it depends on where you are in life as well. In my situation, I would have gone straight to RN, but, God had different plans, so I went through the LPN first. But it's not to, both RNs and LPNs are 100% needed out here in the field, and I have respect for all of them, everyone in healthcare, and no matter what program you join, healthcare is extremely difficult. It is not an easy field, and the school part, oof, that's a whole other journey. So again, this is my experience with the programs I went to. Obviously, it depends on everyone's life situation and where you are and what route you're going to take. But the experiences that I went through and my journey is what I'm sharing here in this episode. So, but if you do have any other questions, definitely message me and stuff like that. But again, I just wanted to clarify that this is, obviously my opinion based on my experiences with the RN and LPN. I applied to the LPN program. They were still accepting people, so I didn't have to wait or anything. I was going to start school that same fall, the same year. So I started the program in fall of 2018. Started the program 10 months, Monday through Friday. And I will say this, I can dive into this in another episode because I don't want this to be so long. But the LPN program, honestly, I am all I've gotten so many DMs. People are like, is it worth being an LPN or should I just go straight to RN? I will tell you this, being able to experience both the RN and the LPN program, I did more hands-on in the LPN program. I did wound changes. I did a whole med pass for a whole week on my own cart. It was I felt so confident graduating from LPN school. I really did. Got the best education. It was the best experience. Honestly, if you're torn, I tell everyone who DMs me, LPN, I'm grateful that I went through that school, went through the program, and I'm happy I did that because it made me a more confident nurse. I came out of school knowing a lot of hands-on stuff and feeling confident. Yes, go back to school, get your RN, because now you're already going to know the hands-on skills part. And then you just keep adding on as you get your credentials. So I definitely recommend, if you're torn, LPN, I definitely recommend doing LPN first. And again, it depends on everyone's situation too. I failed, I didn't want to wait. So I thought, it was what was best for me. Some of you may be best just to go right into RN. So it really does depend. But I am 100% supportive of the LPN programs because they prepare you to be the best nurse, and you will be so confident. And it's funny because a lot of nurses I've encountered, a lot of them were LPNs first, and then they became RNs. And they even said, LPNs, they knew more hands-on stuff. They felt confident. So if you are torn, definitely you can reach out to me on Instagram, talk more about it. But I definitely am super grateful for the LPN program because it made me really a confident nurse. So when I graduated from LPN school, I waited a month, took my boards, passed first time. And let me tell you, waiting for your results, oh my gosh, was terrible. I was so nervous. Oh my gosh, I couldn't even eat. I had to wait 48 hours to know that I passed. And yes, there's a trick, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. You put in your credit card, and if it doesn't go through, you pass. But that wasn't even enough for me. I had to see the words PASS to know that I passed. So, which I did. And then I started working right away. I started working at the children's hospital that I was at, working as a CNA, and I worked full-time as a night shift nurse, which, by the way, night shift is, oh my gosh, a whole other life. I did not want night shift, but then I realized night shift is obviously slower paced, so it's definitely a great option for new grads. And I was so blessed and so lucky to have the best night shift crew. I miss them so much. I am still so close with them to this day. We stay in touch, and they were my best mentors. Your first year of nursing, they always say it's the hardest, and I'm happy to say and so grateful to say that my first year was not. I had the best team, and they helped me, they mentored me, and it was a really good experience. And honestly, in another episode, I guess I could talk about day shift and night shift, because now I work night shift. Now I work day shift, which now we'll jump into that. So I worked night shift for a year, and then I moved to Florida in October of 2020. So I had to leave the children's hospital, which was so hard. I miss them so much. I miss my kids. I miss the staff. It was tough to say goodbye. I was there for 4 years. It was like my second home. I was there all the time. It was tough, and you grow a bond with those kids. I know for me, like, they would say, oh, don't get attached. No. If you don't get attached, you're not human. These kids are absolutely adorable, and I think about them all the time, and I miss them so much. They were my babies. Truly, truly loved these kids so much. So it was tough. It was tough to say goodbye to everyone. The kids, the staff, very, very hard. So I moved October 2020, and I still wanted to stay in pediatrics. So the first place I applied to, I got the job, but it did not work out. Basically, it was similar to where I was back home. So I was like, oh, this will be safe. Like, let me just do it. But honestly, it was not a good environment. I didn't feel safe. I just didn't feel like it was right. Like, deep down inside, I did not feel this was where I needed to be. So I didn't continue working there. And then a month later, I was like, God, please. Like, I was looking for a Monday to Friday type of schedule, which is very rare in nursing, unless you work in a doctor's office or whatever. And, my nurses, I know you hear this, like, oh, you should work in a hospital, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of pressures in nursing. It's, like, so dumb. But I kind of felt that pressure. I was like, man, like, I don't want to work just in an office. Like, I was just torn. And then I realized, I was like, no, I want to do what's best for me. I was on night shift for over a year. Night shift really, like, took a toll on me. I wanted something different, something better for my health, something just better for my mental health as well. So I was like, God, I really want a Monday through Friday job. I don't know if this is possible, but I really, really, really want one. So I ended up applying to, like, a bunch of different places, making phone calls. Like, your girl was out here sliding in the DMs of these companies, literally trying to put myself out there and be like, hey, I need a job. Like, I'm from New Jersey. I just moved to Florida, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, after doing all of that, I did get a call from a place I wanted to work at. And I'm currently there working full time. I work at a medical daycare. And I didn't even know these were a thing. But it's honestly really cool. These children, again, they're medically fragile. They have neuro issues. Some have not so many health conditions. Some do. More severe cases, neuro, respiratory, all that stuff. So it's a little mix of everything. And I love it because I'm getting, like, literally a diverse pediatric population. So it's pretty cool. And it's a Monday through Friday, and I enjoy it. And I'm really happy. It took 2 months for me to get it, but all in God's time, right? Like, it worked out. He provided, and I'm super happy. So I'm a day shift person now, and it's so nice having the weekends off, holidays off. So that's where I'm currently at right now. A lot of questions I get on Instagram, people ask me, are you going back to school? Are you going to stay as an LPN? Are you going to be an RN? I do plan on going back to school. Yes. I wanted to be a Florida resident for a year before going back to school, because then you can get the in-state tuition. So that's why I'm holding off a bit. And I just want to get settled into Florida. I just just here, which stay tuned because I'll be doing a podcast episode on that as well. I didn't want to, like, just jump right into school, because obviously nursing school is no joke. So I'm pacing myself. I'm not going to drive myself crazy and be like, I'm going to do this, and that. So everything one day at a time, basically. But yes, I will be going back to school. And I'm open to, honestly, like, I love pediatrics so much. But like I was telling one of my friends the other day, I'm also open to, like, labor and delivery, OBGYN stuff. Like, women's health. Like, I love women's health. I think it's so important. And I also love seeing, deliveries and babies and pregnancies. It's just a beautiful experience. So I'm definitely open to exploring that area of nursing as well. So we'll see what happens. Long term, I do want to be a pediatric nurse practitioner. But like I said, everything in due time. That's a future goal. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know I threw a lot of information out there, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, if you guys ever have any questions or any topic ideas, things you want to hear about more, please DM me on Instagram at GoodVibras Podcast or at Brielle.Figueroa. Either or, it doesn't matter. I see my DMs. Reach out to me. Let me know. I would love to hear feedback from you guys. If you guys can leave reviews as well, that'll mean so much to me. And stay tuned, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye, guys.